The Goat House is back with score predictions and picks against the spread for every single NFL game in Week 12 here every Wednesday with this video, breaking it down. Let's get started. Thursday night football is actually an interesting battle in the AFC North. At first glance, it's like the Steelers are way better than the Browns. 3.5's a low line. They should be able to handle business, but maybe not so fast because, one, the weather is going to be a big-time factor. Could be some nasty weather in Cleveland. Number two, the Steelers under Mike Tomlin have been good, but under Mike Tomlin on Thursday night football on the road, not so good. Not so great going against a division rival on the road here in the Cleveland Browns. So last week, we took the Steelers because the trends favored them. Trends are against them this week, but I'm still going to roll with them. Close game. They win by 6, 19-13, but this could be, because for all those reasons, it could be a trap game. I just don't trust Winston to take care of the ball against maybe the best defense in football in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the offense is playing much better. Compared to past years, they're somewhat of a similar Steelers team, but they feel better right now. So wouldn't bet on it for all the reasons I explained, but I'll have the Steelers winning this one 19-13. Just not going to trust Cleveland. How's their defense going to be? Did not show up last week. They are at home in this one. That's a big question. 19-13 Steelers is what I got. Now, an NFC North rival game, the Vikings in Chicago taking on the Bears. This one could be a little tricky. I know the Vikings are the much, much better team, but few reasons it could be interesting. This is the third game in a row away for the Vikings. Third game in a row home for the Chicago Bears. Kind of gives them advantage at home. They do seem to play a little better at home. They switched their offense. They tweaked their offense a little bit last week. There was no game plan. A lot of the things we saw, the Packers saw, not a lot of that, or any of it was on film, which resulted in the Bears playing a little bit better on offense. They still scored 19 points, and the Vikings defense is much better. But yeah, not a whole lot to go off of when game planning for the Bears right now, so it makes it a little tricky. I just think it's going to be a big-time defensive game here. The Vikings defense under Brian Flores is playing very well. He makes it very difficult for inexperienced quarterbacks, so I think they'll be a heavy blitz. They are a heavy blitz team. I think they'll be very much a heavy blitz team against the Chicago Bears, which could cause some problems. This is kind of the maximum I had for the Bears, 16. They're over-under for their team total, 17.5. So I feel like this game definitely should go under, because the Vikings offense, Darnold played pretty well last week, but he's starting to come back down to earth a little bit. The Bears got a really solid defense. Where they're not so great is stopping the run, but the Vikings aren't that threatening when it comes to that ground game. But I think they'll do their defense, I think, is the main reason they win. Getting after Caleb Williams, causing problems for the Bears offense, which has struggled this year. But I think the offense will do just enough in this one. So I have them winning 20-16. I bet the under, like I said, 39.5. I just don't see these teams scoring much. If anything, I guess there's a scenario where the Vikings score a bit, but I don't see them scoring a ton in this one. And I would use the Vikings plus 3.5, switch that around in a teaser, or if you feel confident about 2.5, somewhere around that range, pair that with a couple other options there this week. But should be a fun NFC North game on Sunday. Lions at Colts. Colts wearing those alternate uniforms. At first glance here, 7.5 seems like a lot. Even though the Lions are hot, they're the best team in football, dominant. Colts are better than their record. They typically play teams tight. They play them tough. They don't get their ass kicked usually. So at first glance, it's like, that's a lot of points. Maybe too many points. And it definitely could stay close. The Colts could pull off an upset. But let me tell you, this matchup does not help the Colts out. It really favors the Detroit Lions for multiple reasons. The best part about the Colts offense is running the football, especially with Anthony Richardson. He did a good job throwing last week. But with him back in there, you really have to worry about the run. He scrambles well. Even designed runs go well. And Jonathan Taylor, obviously one of the better backs in football. But the Lions are the very best in football stopping the run. And we saw the Colts couldn't really run super well against the Vikings, who are one of the better ones stopping the run. Again, Flacco played in that game, but I trust the Lions' run defense much more. And then you flip to the other side. The Colts really can't stop the run. The Lions are dominant running the football. So this game, just based off X's and O's, the matchup, it really, really favors the Lions. Like a perfect scenario for the Detroit Lions here. But I get, they're due. The Colts are heating up. They're at home. They're wearing those alternates, so you never know. So I would just pass on this one in general because, again, first glance, 7.5 seems like a lot too much. But matchup favors the Lions here. I got them scoring 31 points. The Colts, I think they'll be forced into a lot of passing situations, which really doesn't favor them, but they can have some explosive plays out there, get 20 points. I'm on the board, but the Lions winning 31-20 is what I have. Patriots at Dolphins. Have the Dolphins winning 27-23. The Dolphins offense has been going since Tua came back and very explosive on the ground and through the air. And I know the Patriots can play good defense, but they just played the Rams last week. They played good for a little bit early in that game, but now going to play the explosive offense of the Dolphins. And Miami, not a surprise, they'll score some points in this game. But the Patriots offense is getting going. Drake May's really getting going. I thought he had his best game yet of his rookie season last week. So you can move the ball on the Dolphins. I think they'll be semi-effective through the air and on the ground. So I think they'll score some points as well. Got Miami winning 27-23. It's a big line there. I think the Patriots can keep it a little closer than that, but Miami does have the advantage at home. I would take the over. It's down to 45.5. I think it started at 46.5 around there. It should go over as both these teams, well, the Dolphins definitely are way more of an offensive team. The Patriots actually could be. I mean, how Drake May's heating up and going against this Dolphins defense. So I like the over in that one. Should just go just over. Dolphins win 27-23. Buccaneers at Giants. Both teams off a bye could help both teams, and the Giants decided to go with Tommy DeVito, and he gets to play against a Buccaneers secondary, a pass defense that's really struggling, and they don't really have a lot of a huge game plan on DeVito because he hasn't played this year. But I don't think it'll matter too much. It'd be tough for DeVito to go in there and perform super well. The Giants do rely on the run a little bit, led by Tyrone Tracy, but the Buccaneers are really stout stopping the run. I think DeVito will have him and Neighbors could connect downfield a little bit, maybe a little bit more than Daniel Jones and Neighbors has been in the last few weeks. But that's the only thing they'll really have going for them in this game. I trust the Buccaneers offense. Mike Evans has been practicing, so it looks like he'll come back. The Buccaneers got a two-headed monster at the running back position. The Giants really been struggling to stop the run. So I think the Buccaneers will have the run game and the pass game going for them, and the Giants defense could clutch up in the red zone at times. But I like Tampa in this one. 26-16, thought about 27-16, right around that range. So I have them covering that 5.5. This is a team that really needed that bye week. And again, I like how that they could take away the run from the Giants, and I like how that they'll be able to be effective in the passing and the running game against the Giants. The Giants have to really worry about both here, so Tampa should handle business. Got them winning by 10 points in this one. Cowboys at Commanders. The Commanders, who are a hot team this year, they're coming off a 2-game losing streak, but they've played some really, really tough defenses, so it's a must-win for them. If they lose this game somehow, I don't expect them to, but then you start to wonder if the teams are starting to kind of figure them out a little bit, which happened in the old Cliff Kingsbury teams with the Cardinals. So this is a good draw for them in terms of the schedule. They'll play the Cowboys, who are beat up, no Dak Prescott, so they should be able to handle business here. The Cowboys' defense is brutal, especially on the ground, stopping the run. So the Commander, that really favors the Commanders. So they'll get going in this game, and their defense is playing a little bit better. So they should handle business against Cooper Rush. I got them winning 30-17. It is a big line at 10, so wouldn't really touch that. We'll see if the Commanders could bounce back. I think they'll be they're going to be playing pissed off. They're not used to losing, 2 in a row. They're going to go out there. I think they're going to really try to stack up some points so that if you are taking the Commanders minus 10, I guess that's a good sign. But not one I would really touch, but they should handle business. Chiefs at Panthers, another big line, but I do have the Chiefs covering here. The matchup really should favor them as the Panthers defense is struggling on the ground, so they have to try to worry about that. But the main focus obviously has to be Patrick Mahomes in the passing game here. And the Panthers offense has been getting going a little bit. They've been squeaking by, winning some ball games. I don't think that continues. The Chiefs' defense is really, really solid. They can defend the pass. They'll probably create some turnovers, and they also could stop the run at a pretty solid level. They'll be looking to bounce back, angry after that loss to the Bills. It's a much different opponent in this game. So I just don't see Bryce Young and the Panthers' offense doing enough in this one. Chiefs win 27-13, and you can drop that line down. It's pretty damn good odds if you drop it, even the Chiefs all the way down to minus 6.5. So you can pair that with some other lines that you like in a parlay or a teaser. Looks like a really solid option for this week. Titans at Texans. Texans I have winning 24-20, but that 8.5 spread looks a little large. So I do like Tennessee plus 8.5. And there is a scenario the Texans, beat their ass like they beat the Cowboys. They're not quite like that, but there's a possibility they win big, of course. But man, the Titans, I know their season feels over, but they're playing some teams tough. They play good defense. They stop the run very, very well, and that's kind of what the Texans could win with the run or the pass. Remember, Nico Collins back, second game back, but number one is the run game led by Joe Mixon. The Titans, they're not going to completely shut him down, but they'll slow it down a little bit. and they play good defense, right? Then they kind of keep this game close, and Stroud in that offensive line struggling a little bit. Not that I'm really worried about it. I thought last week Will Levis actually played his best game of this year. I think he had better games last year, but that was against the Vikings defense, and the Titans played them tough. The score won't show it. They played them tough. There was some nonsense calls that went against the Titans when, otherwise they could have been in that game. So yeah, they really got screwed a lot of calls. So how does the league handle that? We see makeup calls all the time, or they're like, oh, Tennessee's done, whatever. I don't know. We'll see. But 8.5 seems like a large line there. So I got 24-20. Texans win. Could be a divisional trap game, but Texans should handle business. But I think the Titans have the ability to keep this one closer. So I do like them plus 8.5. Broncos at Raiders. The Broncos are rolling. And at first glance in this one, the Broncos are heating up. They're getting better. They're becoming more balanced, better on offense. Got a really good defense. The Raiders are done. They're struggling. They're a mess. Broncos roll them, right? Definitely could see it, but that's where there's a little bit of a trap. I don't see the Broncos losing at all. They're the far better team, but I think this one actually, maybe it's a little bold of a prediction. And the line's only 5.5, though. I could see it staying a little closer than expected. They played each other already. The Raiders actually started pretty well in that game. Looked like they were going to get going. Then there was a pick six that changed everything. Second time playing them. It's usually tricky for some of those teams playing them the second time, the divisional games. But on the road, going to Vegas, for some odd reason, I could see the Raiders kind of keeping this one close, but I do not expect them to win the game. I'll go a low-scoring game. The over-under is really low as well, so they know something too. So I'll go low-scoring game. Broncos win 20-16. Just don't trust the Raiders having enough here, but I could see the Broncos winning because they're playing great ball right now. I could see them winning an ass beating. Just away, second time playing this division rival. For some reason, it could kind of stay close there. 20-16 Denver is what I have. Niners and Packers definitely should be one of the better ones of the week. Could go either way. I tell you what, though, if Brock Purdy for some reason is out because he's dealing with a little arm soreness, then it's not going to be a good game. The Packers are going to win big. I'm going to predict them to win big, cover the spread, everything. And we'll see what Nick Bosa will monitor his injury as well. Niners are pretty beat up in general right now, but I do have the Packers winning even if Brock Purdy plays, but it should be a squeaker, meaning it should stay really, really close. The Packers they do seem to play a little bit better at home at Lambeau. Might be a little chilly out there. So they should have the advantage. The 49ers can't really close out games. Packers defense struggling a little bit right now, but can the Niners clutch up in the red zone? They haven't been able to do that, but I'll go with Green Bay at home. If this was in San Francisco and the Niners were healthy like Brock Purdy were playing, I'd probably lean with the 49ers, so the home field advantage is a big one here. If Purdy isn't playing, I think it's going to be an ass beating either way. I'm saying if it was home or away, it's in Lambeau, obviously, so we shouldn't even talk about it being in San Fran. But give me the Packers here, bouncing back. Even though they did win last game, they struggled a little bit. But the Packers winning 26-24 in my prediction. One of the better games of the week, probably the toughest one to pick for me straight up. Cardinals at the Seahawks. The Cardinals are hot, but they had that bye week. Sometimes the bye week hurt teams that are hot, and sometimes it helps them kind of game plan for the next team. So we'll see how that favors or if it doesn't with the Cardinals. But they were playing some really, really good football. And the Seahawks are a little tricky to figure out. 1 second they're a defensive team, and 1 second they're awful on defense, and they're an offensive team, and vice versa. They can't really get them on the same page at the same time. They didn't really play that great against the Niners, and the defense stepped up. It didn't feel like two good teams playing each other in that game for some reason. The Seahawks clutch up at the end. So does that get them going? Cardinals defense is playing a lot better recently. I still don't fully trust it. I think Seattle's offense could do some damage, but I think where you beat these two teams' defense is running the football. So this should be an offensive game, a lot of efficient offense, but a lot of running clock at the same time. Otherwise, I'd probably have even higher scoring here. But like I said, running the football is going to be a big thing in this game. I really like the Cardinals' rushing game. I like their running game a lot with their running backs led by James Conner, but Kyler Murray, a little bit of an issue as well for teams with his scrambling, his running ability. We saw that in his last outing going against the Jets, and Seattle let Purdy scramble on him on them a little bit. There might be a little bit more of a game plan for Kyler Murray, so that could help them. But yeah, I can see the Seahawks are favoring this one. I can see them winning and kind of getting going as the playoffs kind of approach here, but tough to pick against the Cardinals with what they've been doing. The difference, I think whoever runs the ball better wins the game, and I love the Cardinals' run game right now. So that was my deciding factor with Arizona, but does their defense kind of come back down to earth, after the bye? That's what we're kind of waiting and seeing. Not one I would touch in terms of money. I can see it. The Seahawks are they're one of those rare teams. Here we are in Week 12 that, what are they fully about right now? We can't really figure this team out right now. So there's one of those teams, so I would pass for that reason. Sunday night football, the Eagles and the Rams, two teams that seem to get a lot of primetime games, and they're both typically home on those primetime games, so somebody has to be away. Eagles are away going to LA. I think the third home primetime game for the Rams in the last 4 or so weeks, it feels like. Eagles are favored by 2.5. That line is dropping, and it could be an interesting one here. Looking at the X's and O's, looking at the matchup on the field, I think it really favors the Eagles. So I'm just going to roll with that. I'm a matchup type of guy here. So I'll pick the Eagles 24-19. Their defense is playing very well, and they have one of the better rushing attacks in football. And I think it'll cause some problems for the Rams, and it'll limit the Rams' offensive chances and with a lot of clock coming off. So for those reasons, I'll go Eagles 24-19. But the Rams' defense is playing better. The Eagles' offense randomly goes cold. The Eagles' defense looks really, really good right now. But Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, mainly Stafford here, the veteran, very smart quarterback that still has all the talent in the world. He made some ridiculous throws last week. If somebody was going to figure out this new improved Eagles defense, that could be the guy. That could be the guy right there, just because how smart of a quarterback he is. The Vikings defense was super hot, and then when he played them, it was known as a confusing defense. He picked them apart. So I don't think it's going to be like that, but that's the scenario, I think, why the line is so low in LA prime time. Stafford maybe figures that Eagles defense out. So that did cross my mind, but the matchup favorite, they'll really control this game with their rushing attack, and that defense is playing out of their minds right now. So, and the Rams are weird too. They're like 1 second they're more of a defensive team, and 1 second they're more of an offensive team. You're looking at the last few games. Look at the Seahawks and the Patriots game, and the Seahawks, Dolphins in the last 3. Seahawks, Dolphins, Patriots is like a stretch of defense, and there's a stretch of no defense and all offense, and it's very strange. So maybe don't fully trust them yet, even though they're home prime time. But I like the under. 49 points seems like a lot. I think Vegas is thinking Stafford figures out this Eagles defense, and the Eagles offense, especially on the ground, should be able to be a factor. But two improving defenses, a lot of running clock with the Eagles rushing attack. I don't see it going over 49. If this game was a game last year, it would have been an absolute shootout, but it's not last year. And because of the matchup, I kind of like the Eagles to win by at least a field goal, but again, it could be a trap game, if you will. I know Rams are a good team, so I don't know if we call it a trap game, but you could tease the Eagles plus 3.5 if you feel a little more comfortable with that, with some of the other teaser/parlay options that I had. But it should be a fun one on Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football, the Har Bowl. It's the third time they're going to play. It's not the Super Bowl, obviously, but the third time they're going to play. John Harbaugh has beaten Jim 2 out of 2 times, so he's 2-0, so that kind of favors the Ravens. But, primetime Ravens typically pretty good, bouncing back after that loss. I totally can see it. I like the Chargers in this one. I'm going to go 27-24 Chargers, a game that is probably the best one of the week. Could go either way. What I'm looking forward to seeing here is the Chargers defense versus that Ravens rushing attack. Chargers defense has been surprisingly dominant this year, really specifically stopping the run, because on paper they don't look good in that area, and they've been atrocious over the last several years, but they've been very, very good. Now the Ravens rushing attack is something different. It's a different animal they haven't seen, so I could totally see a scenario where the Ravens just dominate in the ground, control the game for sure. But the Chargers look very balanced right now. They can throw the ball now. Justin Herbert's heating up. He can scramble as well. They can run the ball. They can play some really solid defense. And the Ravens, I fully trust their offense, but sometimes, last week kind of disappeared a little bit, and the defense has been a little off this year, obviously. So the Chargers' balance at home in a game like this could take over. Jim Harbaugh beating his brother. Greg Roman's also another factor. He was the Ravens, Lamar Jackson's offensive coordinator for a long time. They had a lot of success. There was a lot of complaints about him. He moved on. He's the Chargers offensive coordinator, so he has some input on his team, and I know he doesn't coach the defense, but he still understands the Ravens game and Lamar Jackson, so he'll definitely have some key input there for the Chargers and part of their game plan. So I'm going to go with the Chargers at home for those reasons, mainly the balance aspect, like how they can win. I don't think they're going to win this game just purely running. I think they'll be okay on the ground, but they'll be effective through the air. I think Herbert will be super effective, and they can win with defense on top of that. With the Ravens, it's like, I know the passing game will be fine, but can we fully trust the passing game? And the defense, yeah, you can't really trust that defense right now. They played all right last week in the red zone, but and the Chargers are a little more explosive on offense than the Steelers. You could trust their rushing attack. That's really about it right now, even though they're a very good team, and they can win with that alone. But another teaser option at the Chargers plus 7.5 if you bump that up. I think this game should stay close here. Because the Chargers' ability to play offense and defense, and they're at home on prime time after having a nice test against the Bengals at home prime time though there. So let's take a look at kind of recap all the games that I picked against the spread here. Well, I'm not saying bet on all these games, but if I had to pick every game, this is what I went with. So a lot of favorites to start. Then we had some underdogs. I'm monitoring the Niners injuries there. If Purdy's out, I'm going to take the Packers minus 2.5. An ass beating there, obviously. I think Purdy will play, though. So, yeah, there you have it. There's all those games. Let me know your guys' picks, your scores if you have any, your thoughts. Always love to hear those. We have loads of content on the channel. Pick show is a lot of fun. That's already up. We have a recent mock draft, coach candidates video, rookie rankings video, ranked top 30. So a lot going on here at the Goat House. So join us, like, subscribe to notifications on me. Much appreciated. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.